Welcome back to Observing the Sabbath. I'm your host, Nathaniel Molnar, and we are continuing our look at Black Sabbath's fifth studio album, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Johnny and I already did the opening track, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and now I'm continuing on through with a National Acrobat. And as I say in most videos, I'll just reiterate, this is not a typical reaction video where someone's listening to this song for the first time. There's plenty of those on YouTube, and I love watching those, but that's not what this is. I've heard this song countless times, and I'm sort of talking through the song, giving you my thoughts as we listen to the song together. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. This is a National Acrobat. And go. One of Tony's best riffs. It really is. And then you have the second guitar come in. The layering on this song is just so good. I'd say, I don't know why I'm necessarily making this comparison, but I kind of, in my head, am comparing the riff for this song and Lord of this World. Maybe because they're both kind of like long-winded guitar riffs. You know, they're not like short and sweet, they're kind of longer form. And once again, Ozzy's voice is just on point. I mentioned during the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and I think I've said it before, that I think Ozzy's voice just gets better and better with every album. So you get, you know, he's got like the gruffer voice for the original Black Sabbath album, but then with every album his voice just gets cleaner and crisper, but also he kind of is more defining his range. And I really think this time period, this sort of 1973, 74, 75 era, Ozzy's voice is just at its peak. It's the best his voice is. And I think in terms of the Sabbath albums, his voice peaks at Sabotage, and then it kind of, Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die, his voice is good, but he isn't really hitting the same notes as he hits with all the way up through Sabotage. It's not really until you get to Blizzard of Oz when he kicks off his solo career that I really think he's like, Ozzy's back vocally. But that's just more the context at the time that these albums were coming out, at least the later ones. I mentioned before during the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath video that when you get to the lyrics of this album, they get very more abstract, and Johnny's pointing out that it's really more poetic. And I think a National Acrobat is a great example of that. Like, it's really abstract lyrics, but it's also just so well written, and it's just very poetic. I love the echo effect on Ozzy's voice there. Tony really kind of takes the one riff and just plays around with it. It's like almost all the riffs in the song are different variations of that one main riff, which I think is really interesting. I've mentioned in previous videos that you get songs that are kind of shorter and more concise, where they really only have a couple of riffs, like say St. Vitus' Dance, which has like maybe 2 or 3 riffs that kind of jumps back and forth between, but the song is shorter, it's like maybe 4 minutes, so... But with something like this, you do only have the main riff and then a couple variations of that one riff, but the song is a little bit longer. You must have, like, I think they're kind of doing 2 tracks of Ozzy at this point. His tone is so great, isn't it? And then you get sort of like the solo here, which, similar to Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, I don't think Tony really gets his like sort of solo part until you get to the end of the song. It's really the closer where he kind of gets his part, which is interesting. this is one of those riffs that's just similar to Lord of this World. It's so good. I'm not complaining in the slightest that the whole song is pretty much this one riff, because I could just listen to this over and over and over again. His range is so good. I love that. Ha ha! And he kind of transitioned to this next part of the song. This is my favorite part of the song, this part that we're entering, this, like, latter. Let's see, we have, like, a minute left, So, like, this last sort of minute 30 is, like, my favorite part of the whole song. They're like, no, we're not going to end this song in a typical way. We're not going to have, a typical ending to the song. We're going to throw all this stuff at you last second. It's like the song kind of has, like, a very steady incline, and then it just shoots off at the very end. Like, this is, like, who else ends a song like this? This is, like, the middle of a song, or the beginning of a song, but this is the very end. Only Tony. Only Tony. And listening to this, you would imagine if this is going to be the end of any song, this would be the end of the album. This would be the final song on the album. Similar to the way that they kind of draw out Under the Sun, or they kind of have a little bit slower draw out with Into the Void. You would imagine that if you're going to take a song and draw it out in this manner, that you would do that with the final song on the album, but no, they're doing it with the second track. So if we're looking at, and that's the end of the song, by the way, if we're looking at this album so far, we have Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which is just, like, I was talking about through our video, it's twisted, it's sinister, it has these really gritty guitar riffs, it just feels grimy and dirty, and it really brings sort of the metal aspect into this album. Then we have a National Acrobat, which is different, but you could still see the tonal similarities to Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. It has those abstract lyrics. It kind of has the one guitar riff and the derivations of that guitar riff throughout, until you get to the very end, where it just kind of, you could tell that the song has been building and building and building, and then just kind of explodes at the end in very grand fashion. And then we'll, of course, be talking about Fluff in its own video. But then to go from that piece right into Fluff is sort of like it's a very interesting trajectory of the record so far. You have this really strong start, and then you sort of have this winding middle part, which then leads to this explosive ending, and then you go right into this very sort of melodic, beautiful instrumental piece. They do, and I've mentioned this many times, Black Sabbath really knows how to compose an album. They really know how to piece it together. They really know, they really understand how to contrast pieces of music, how to take sounds and really contrast them. And you'd think that, if you're constructing an album, you'd want to have a lot of the same kind of flowing into each other. You'd want to have similar sounds flowing into each other. But Black Sabbath is really all about taking different sounds and contrasting them and putting them up against each other. And so to have such radically different sounds going through each of the tracks, within each track, but then going from one track to the next, it really makes for such a unique listening experience, because by the time you get to, let's just even say, the end of the A side of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, you've had such a wide range of different sounds. They really do it in a way that nobody else does. And it's very, you could tell it's very skillfully and artfully pieced together. and they know what they're doing when they're putting together an album. And National Acrobat, from the lyrics are just so well written. The song itself is so well composed and put together. I love the different layers and tracks. You hear the multiple guitars. You hear the different Ozzy vocal tracks. The drums are great. Geezer, of course, great as always. It's just a very well put together song. And it's a great, it's a great follow-up to the titular song, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. So those are all my thoughts on a National Acrobat. I want to know, what do you guys think of this track? Do you agree with me and a lot of what I'm saying, or do you have points of disagreement? I know that a National Acrobat is one of people's favorites when it comes, like when you get past the initial favorites that everyone has of War Pigs and Paranoid and, the top tier ones that people love. A National Acrobat is one of those songs that a lot of people love, and so I've seen a lot of people talking about this song. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think about this song? Leave all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Well, once again, I'm Nathaniel Molnar. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe for more content, and join us as we dive into the next song on this album, which is the instrumental Fluff. So until then, until we talk about Fluff, thank you for watching.